Well, despite all these crazy challenges that we're facing on a global basis, some companies have managed to do fantastically well. 2 of the 3 Groupon founders, as you probably know, are Michigan guys. They split to Chicago, and rather than launching another Me Too coupon company, they innovated. They did something bold and remarkable. And as a result, in 3 years, they created $10 billion of wealth. Now, let's say you're not into high tech. You don't want to launch a .com company. Or maybe someone even works for a bigger company. Well, right here in our own backyard, Ford Motor Company was facing the same seemingly insurmountable challenges as their competitors. But instead of running for bankruptcy protection, Ford doubled down on innovation. And as a result, they're enjoying record profits today. So you see these case studies again and again and again. Those that are forward-looking, those that embrace change, those that are willing to go out on a limb and create are the ones that win. While those that are afraid of their own shadow and try to play it safe are the ones that suffer. Study last year, 1,500 CEOs across the globe. They were asked a question, what's the single most important skill for success in the next 5 years of business? Was it financial acumen? Was it operational prowess? Turns out the number 1 cited attribute was creativity, by a long shot. So we know now more than ever we have to have creativity in order to win in our companies and our careers. Unfortunately, though, we're facing a big problem. And the problem is that in our country, our creativity overall is declining. Quick example, this is a picture of my daughter, Chloe. So last year, Chloe was in art class in school, she's in 4th grade, and the teacher says, Chloe, go draw a picture of a bear. Cool, no problem, right? Go draw a picture of a bear. But instead of drawing a bear like this, she draws this purple, funky shaped bear. It was really neat, and she was all proud of it, you know? So she runs up to the teacher, and she hands it to her, and she's waiting for praise and admiration. You know what that teacher said? It's not right. It's not what bears look like. You had the same thing?
Yeah.
Same thing, right? That's not what bears look like.
15 years ago, yeah.
Go back and redo it.
Yep.
So what does that do? What does that do to our kids who are trying to become creative? It sucks it right out of them. That's not what bears look like. Have you ever seen one of these?
Yes. My dog loves them.
Your dog loves them? Do you know what this is called?
Ugly dolls.
An ugly doll. An ugly doll. Well, funny, this is the entrepreneurial success story that we can, it's incredible. This was the 2007 Toy of the Year. And in fact, when Sasha Obama went to her first day of school in Washington, D.C., she walked in clutching tightly to the security of her ugly doll. You notice a disconnect, folks? We teach this. You get out in the real world, we reward that. We're taught in school to follow the rules. Guess what the teacher knows? There's only one right answer, and whatever you do, don't make any mistakes. But if you run that game plan in the real world, it is a surefire path to mediocrity. Doing exactly the opposite is what will enable you to win. Another quick example, there was another study done that asked kids a question, the same question I asked you actually, are you creative? Well, they asked this question to kids entering kindergarten. Turned out that 98% of those kids raised their hand and said, yep, I'm creative. They asked the same question to graduating high school seniors. The numbers dropped a little bit. Can you guess what they dropped to? 30? 5%? What else we got? 40? 10? 2%. 2%. How does that happen? You know, we send our kids to school to get prepared to meet the challenges of the day, and we're doing exactly the opposite. You guys, you all started school as these bright, vibrant kids filled with creativity. It's almost like you start kindergarten with a set of crayons and you leave with a ballpoint pen. So what's going on here is that instead of growing into creativity, we're growing out of it. I mean, when all of us were kids, I mean, think about it. There's no such thing as a cardboard box. It was a fort or a Barbie mansion or a pirate ship. Right? You put a bunch of kids in a room with toys and art supplies, they'll play for hours with endless imagination. You put us in that same room, we're checking our BlackBerries in 45 seconds. So over time, our schools and our systems and our bureaucracies and our churches and our society, they beat it out of us. And we become the thing that we fear the most. Grumpy adults. Also known as our parents. And by the way, not the cool parents in the Viagra commercials. So I'm building this project with my son Noah. We're building a Lego Death Star. And I was all excited. It took us a couple hours. We were really proud until I realized something was wrong. So I go over there and look at the booklet, the instruction manual, and I'm not kidding, it was the size of a phone book. There were 192 detailed steps of exactly where to put every specialized piece. I mean, when I was a kid, this is what Legos look like. The act of Legoing was you would take these modular pieces and you'd actually have to use your imagination. And you'd build something and you bust it apart and you build something else. So what you're seeing is that on a continuous basis, whether it's schools, whether it's toys, we're going in the wrong direction as a society. Well, now that I've bummed you out, there's good news actually. 2008, Harvard runs a study. And they asked the age-old question, is creativity born or is it developed? Is it nature or nurture? Here's what they found. Creativity, in fact, is 85% learned behavior. Think about what that means. That means you and I, on our groggiest day, have 85% the creative capacity as Mozart or Da Vinci or Picasso. The problem is most of us don't feel that way. We just learned that 98% of kids graduating high school don't feel that way at all. Which, back to our curious side, makes you ask, why not? Why don't we feel creative? A couple big reasons. The first one is labeling. We attribute job title or major with levels of creativity. We think that musicians are creative and statisticians are not. Meanwhile, there are musicians in professional orchestras, and they play the notes on the page beautifully. But they're not creating much of anything. On the other hand, we've seen how creative those accountants can get. So job title has nothing to do with it. In today's era of hyper-competitive business, it's up to all of us to be creative. The creatives aren't the people who have piercings and tattoos anymore. It's all of us. We have to be creative in order to win. The biggest inhibitor, though, of creativity is fear. We let fear hold us back and get in the way of letting our true creativity shine. We've all done it. You know, you're in a group or in a meeting and you're like, I've got a great idea. But instead of sharing it, you hold it back. And you say, well, will I look foolish? If it was such a great idea, someone else probably would have already said it. What will my boss say? What will my professor say? So we talk ourselves out of letting our creativity shine in an era that we need it the most. The good news, though, again, it's a learned behavior, which means that if you can get past this fear yourself, and if you can encourage those around you, or those in your companies that you're about to launch around you, to let that fear aside and let the creativity come out to play, you will be far ahead of your competition, and it will be a really good stepping stone in order to win.